Good morning, everyone. Thank you very, very much for being here. And thank you all who are joining us streaming, live streaming. Welcome to all of you. It's an important morning for us. We have been blessed by God to have John Dephouse join our staff. John is the Director of Education and Formation here at All Saints Church, a new office of ministry that we've developed. And there's all sorts of richness in this guy's soul. And part of that richness is the fact that the year before he came to join us, he had a battle, and he and his entire family actually had a battle with a rare form of pediatric cancer that he had in his body at age 32. And I'm going to introduce him, and then he's going to introduce Jeff, who also, with his family, faced, the horrible crisis of losing your child to cancer. And they're going to talk about the crucible of those kinds of crises and what life and the universe offers us as options about how to respond to that. Before I turn the microphone, and then after each of them has spoken a little bit, then I may ask a couple of questions, and then we want to involve you. But the reason we scheduled this presentation today is because they just got off a bike ride from San Francisco down to Los Angeles all last week and got into town yesterday. And I want to welcome those other people who are in the room who look rather astonishingly skinny, who themselves were on the bike ride with these two guys. Jeff and I were commenting that maybe John didn't drop so many pounds because he didn't have that many pounds to drop. But nevertheless, they left some LBs on the road, and they're here with us this morning. So first, let's clap up John Dephouse.
Good morning. This is so fun to be able to have this opportunity to share from this experience just after it happened. First, I just want to take a quick moment. Those who were on the bike ride or on the cruise on this trip, please stand up real quick. These are some who did the bike ride, 500 miles. Coach Brian, other parents, part of the crew, part of Pavlov. Thank you. Zelda sent me a lovely message this week, and she said, John, I know there will be moments when you are one with yourself, one with the bike, and one with the universe, all at the same time. And I think that's absolutely true in moments, and that's the stunning thing about this kind of journey that we've taken. Ed touched on why I wrote a bit. I had a pediatric cancer, which is more likely to be in my kids. And so I have a deep connection and empathy for the work of this foundation. And that's why I've joined this ride and will hopefully continue to be a part of the work of Pavlov. I want to introduce Jeff a moment. This is Jeff Castellis. He is the president of Elektra Records, founder of Dangerbird Records 5 years ago, I think. He's a significant player in the pop music industry. He's managed lots of bands that you know and listen to. Has had a lot of success and accolades, but I know he would refer to this work of Pavlov, of his most heartfelt and satisfying work of his life. I want to say that when Jeff talks, he tends to swear, but he does it really tastefully. And so I said that's okay. So just... Whew. I want to just quote something. The other night, our final night, Friday, this was Thursday evening before our last ride. No, I'm sorry, Friday night before our last ride. Jeff made an amazing speech and reflection to the group. And he's looking at 38 riders and the crew, everyone that was part of this journey. And the first thing he said was that, I wish I never met any of you in this room. But here we are. And I don't even want to elaborate on that. I think that simple statement says so much. I wish I never met any of you in this room, but here we are. And so with that, I want to introduce Jeff Castellis.
Welcome, Jeff.
I'm gonna stand up because it's hard for me to sit and talk. I want to introduce to all of you, and I'm going to make you stand up one more time. Sorry, my amazing wife Joanne Thrailkill, who founded the Pablo Foundation with me, and our son Grady, who's also here. Grady's 19 years old and sort of grew up around here in terms of his schooling. So you guys, please stand up so everybody can see you. So, there they are. In the 25 minutes that I've been given, I'm going to cover a bunch of ground, geographically and metaphorically. So strap yourselves in and
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay, thank you. 20 to 30 minutes, it's totally cool. We'll be out of here by noon, okay? And I want to cover a lot of things and focus on spiritual resonance, which is something that we can all relate to regardless of what our beliefs are or what our beliefs are going to be next week or where we're going to or where we came from, which is that feeling that I get when I'm doing something that completely lights up my passion and completely lights up my physical body and doesn't require thinking with this guy up here. It's just something that just happens. And I know this feeling when I'm with someone that I love, when I'm having a great conversation. I also know it on the bike, which sometimes involves talking and sometimes involves hours of silence, just riding with another person or a group of people. That is a very sweet thing that people don't talk about enough when they talk about cycling or running or other types of physical endurance things, is that those silence packets. I don't know much about anything, but I did grow up in the Catholic Church. I did grow up in a Catholic grade school studying the Bible. And when I'm riding my bike in these desolate places, and we've literally ridden from the first year we did this in 2009, we rode from St. Augustine, Florida, to LA, so truly across the country, and we rode through deserts. And my mind goes wild with imagination when I'm in the desert or when I'm near the sea. I start talking about Chinese explorers, when I'm near the sea. And when you're in the desert, you can't help but think these people who were written about in the Bible and other spiritual writings that came from that area of the world, the cradle of civilization, they were like walking through the desert. This was not like they were hanging out. They might go to 21 Choices down the street and get a yogurt and then go back to like being lost in the desert, right? They were just in the desert. They didn't know what was going on. They were on a journey. They knew they were going away from some strife here, going to a place that was somewhere on the other end that was safer. And the bonding that happens among people in those situations where you're on a journey and you're being led by your heart is something that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to describe. And I'm imagining from the look on people's faces around here that we all can relate to this in our own ways, whether you've ever ridden a bike more than a mile or whether you just rode your bike from San Francisco. We all have our stories. The slide behind me is the front page of the what we call the Pablog. Our son was named Pablo, and the day he was diagnosed with cancer in 2008, I started a blog because I wanted us to have a central communication point so that people wouldn't be calling and emailing Joanne and I every day to find out how Pablo was doing in his cancer treatment. What quickly happened was this thing took on a life of its own. I started writing from my heart, beyond just what his temperature was and what his treatment was that day. I just started writing what was happening in our lives, for better or for worse. And it took on a life of its own. People started sending it to other people. because Joanne and I are in the entertainment industry and we know people all over the world, it took on a worldwide situation to a large degree. And it became the genesis of the Pavlov Foundation in some ways simply because we planted this flag in the ground and we let it rip. And people, because people are good and people want to help other people, people always asked, where can we donate money in Pablo's name? How can we help? That's something that people just get used to doing in our society. We decided to start the Pavlov Foundation because we wanted to have our own say in where the money would go when Pablo got better, when he got through his treatment. We came up with the idea to have a foundation. We set up a PayPal account, and then some days later we were batting around ideas for names, bad ones, and then Joanne said Pavlov. We just added a VE to his name, and there it was. And that was in 2008. And the idea of just doing something and just putting ourselves out there and saying something no matter what was the genesis of this foundation, which has touched a lot of people and for sure will touch more people as we go. Can you hit the next slide? I don't even know what it is, but I want to talk about it. This is, I never speak against PowerPoint, but I wanted to be able to show you guys some images. This is our website. You can see the Pavlov Across America imaging. These undoubtedly, many of these riders that you see in that long photo there are riders from right around here in the Pasadena area. Pavlov Across America is the name of the bike ride. We just did our 5th year of this ride. We just got into Children's Hospital Los Angeles yesterday around 2 p.m. and we had 37 riders that rode from Palo Alto, California, starting last Sunday. And if you aren't familiar with the terrain of California, between Palo Alto and here, it's a lot of mountains, it's a lot of this. I mean, you live in the midst of all this stuff, so it's like this, and it doesn't stop ever. If you can hit the next slide, this is an example of this is what I call the thermometer. We have, as of today, we've raised $362,000 in donations from our riders and all of their constituents and all of their communities. And we believe that by the time we're done tallying all of our corporate matching and a couple other donations, we'll be at $400,000, which is a record fundraising situation for us and something we're very proud of. Maybe you can hit the next slide. This is a shot of us riding somewhere in the Midwest a couple of years ago. This is about 2, 4, 6, 8. This is 12 riders. So imagine 3 times that many riders flying down the road. What you see here is people, everybody's riding on their own, right? Everyone's powering their own bike. And when you're a cyclist, you're the horse and you're the jockey, if you can get what I'm saying. You know, we see these jockeys at Santa Anita, and there's these tiny little guys in super cool outfits, and they're on a horse. But the horse is the thing that's doing the running. On one of these babies, you're actually also the horse. Your legs are actually doing the work. So you're seeing people doing individual work, and they're also working together. They're drafting off one another to stay out of the wind. There's a relationship between and among all of these riders that becomes a very powerful thread of community. You take 36 riders, some of whom had no clue how to do any sort of group riding like this. It takes skill to do this. Some people were scared out of their minds to ride with this many people. And after a couple of days, you see people chilling out, getting comfortable. You see people becoming fast friends and having, telling stories to one another as they're riding, seeing one another going up these crazy mountain passes. One day we had a climb on a mountain that went 16% grade, which is something you see up in the Angeles National Forest right here. But then it had some kickers that went up to 21 and 22%, which is basically inhuman. Like, I can't describe it to you. It's like literally like running into the wall at the back of the room with your nose and then scaling it. It hurts. But the thing is that when somebody like John, who's a very strong, agile athlete, zips up it, and then he turns around and sees somebody else who's never done anything like this coming up right behind him, at the top of it, he's turning around and giving that person a giant hug and saying, great work. It's so incredible to see you do this. People are crying. This stuff brings you to the edge of your existence. People are cheering each other. They're crying, sometimes in the same minute. And that's the spiritual resonance thing where you forget about everything else in life for a little while. We have our responsibilities, and that's important, but for a little while, you become this being that just has to get through each day on this bike and get to the next town. I believe in a lot of simple things in life. I've been taught a lot of simple things, and I try to grab what I like and play around with it and make it my own. And there's this saying that, to witness greatness is to be great. So this is why we all love sports. We all love to go to Dodger Stadium and see somebody crack a baseball over the wall and have a home run, and then sort of like just jog around the bases ceremonially. We all like to see somebody, hopefully on a good day in politics, actually do something really great and help people. We like to hold the door for somebody at Starbucks and let them go in before us. These things that are so simple, and we get to witness them, and then we can go like, wow, like I can do that too in my own way. That I just saw that person stand up in front of a crowd of people and get past their own fear of public speaking. I think I can do that in my life tomorrow in some way. John and I talked a few months ago when we first met. We went to Buster's Coffee, or we tried to go to Buster's in South Pass, and we went somewhere else to eat. And we talked about spirituality, we talked about our beliefs, we talked about the similarities and slight differences in our belief systems, but mostly about our similarities. And we talked about John's journey through a form of pediatric cancer in his adult body. And we talked about how he was so grateful that his cancer was not in his children, but was actually in his body because he's more able to carry it and get through it. That's an example for me of witnessing somebody's greatness and just saying like, wow, like if John can get through that, there's a lot of stuff I can get through in my own life. This connection that the Pablo Foundation has become, can you give us the next slide? This connection that the Pablo Foundation has become has gone far, far beyond our son Pablo, who was diagnosed with cancer and lost his life. I could stand here for my allotted 20 minutes and talk to you about Pablo and talk to you about how sad we are that he's not here. He's actually been in this building before, coincidentally, because our son Grady went to Pasadena Waldorf School up the street, and for at least 1 year, the school's Christmas concert was here, and we were here as a family for that. So I could talk to you about how sad we are, and there would be no end to that. But the fact is that he's gone, and he's been gone for some time. And what we have found is that this foundation, which is sometimes complicated, just like faith is complicated sometimes, is a way for us to wake up in the morning and do something to help other people who are in the situation that we were in, and to set up a structure that other people who might be in the situation in the future can come to. And even though we fund research and we fund programs that help kids who are currently going through treatment and their families, and we invented one called Pavlov Shutterbugs, which is the children that you see here. These are kids who are going through cancer treatment at the time of this photo, who are learning the art of photography from professional photographers as a way to express themselves and to be something other than a cancer patient, right? So you imagine that these kids get taken out of school, they get taken out of their social systems, and they become medical patients. So we endeavor every day to create a connection among kids who are going through cancer treatment and their families. Not enough can be said about the parents, about the siblings. We don't have enough time to get into all this today, but we're taking big swings and wide swipes at the whole situation of pediatric cancer with what we do at Pavlov. And one word that sums it all up is connection. You are not alone. Kids get cancer too. We can't solve this right now, but what we can do is we can put our arms around one another, even though it might be hurting right now, and we can be here for one another. And I haven't met anybody on this earth, even the people who are the most wild, kooky, agnostic, atheists, who don't enjoy being connected somehow, somewhere. I don't know, I'm not a social scientist, but I think we all have hearts, that beat whatever, 100,000 times a day, and our hearts resonate. I don't care what our brains tell us intellectually, they resonate and they want to connect. And Joanne and Grady and myself and our staff, as we've grown in our community, we've found that our hearts resonating together feels pretty darn good. The community, connection, caring, these are things that John mentioned who I am in the business world. And that's all cool. But what I really measure myself by is how much am I working to put myself in the world and be vulnerable and to help other people. And believe me, I have terrible days, absolutely terrible days. And on a good day, I'm very proud of the work that we do at the Pablo Foundation and how we bring people together. When John asked me to speak here, it was like and he kept saying, "Are you sure it's the day after we get home? Are you going to want to go and do that?" And I thought, this is perfect, because I love jumping up in front of groups of people and talking about what we do. And really what we do is no longer about the three of us, it's about what we all do. Our bike ride started out in 2009 with me as a grieving father flying to Florida and riding back here with one friend. And people would join us along the way. A lot of people from Pasadena flew out and joined us for a couple days. Pablo Across America has become something that is no longer my and our event. It's become the community's event. It's become a way that people can reach out into their social networks and ask people to support something that they're doing. Some people have no connection to pediatric cancer. What they want is a cool bike ride. They want to have this fantasy camp experience. Some people are blown away that they get to ride next to John, who's a very unique person in terms of his journey, having a form of pediatric cancer. Some people are riding next to a parent who's lost a child. Some people are riding next to somebody whose child is in treatment and is back in school. And every sort of different thing around there. And I want my life to be known. I want to be known as a guy who got up and stood next to his wife and tried every day. And I'm going to keep trying that for as long as I live, whether it's on a bike or speaking to people and using the gifts that God gave me as a writer and a speaker. And that's what I came here to say. I know what the term spiritual resonance means for me. Getting through a very, very tough curveball in life is not easy. There's no end to it in our case. There's no pretty Hollywood ending. What we're doing here is surviving and coping and putting one foot in front of the other. And again, I'm going to wrap up on this wild idea that I think I have some clarity about, which is that I don't think there's any spiritual denomination, sect, order, any spiritual writings that could ever say to me that there is an end to this journey. There is some cyclical nature to everything we're all doing. And I believe I'm going to be with my son again. I believe that he's here in this room. That's my belief today. And while I'm here, I want to feel alive. And I really appreciate you guys inviting us down here. Before I put the mic down, I want to ask you all to check out our website when you go home. If you are in a position to help us by showing up with your physical body and volunteering or becoming part of our community, as John has, fantastic. If you're able to support us in some other way, the door is always open for that. Our website is simply, can you go to I think there's one more slide. And this is an example of us bringing kids together to ride bikes together, who have, most of these kids don't have anything to do with pediatric cancer. They're actually raising money to help other kids, which is another form of this connectedness. And I think there might be one more slide. And this is an example of our Pavlov Shutterbugs gallery show. We do a show at the end of the class in a gallery and hang the kids' photos with big name photographers and treat them like rock and roll celebrity photographers. And is there one more slide? No, there's a video. So there's a 1 minute and 15-second video that we just made that we'll show you guys, and then I'll turn the microphone back over to the man with the green microphone. So thank you.
What can a bike do? A bike can get you where you need to go. A bike can make you feel like a kid again. You can chase your dreams on a bike. For me, a bike can do all of that and more. A bike can fight childhood cancer. It can fight the disease that took my son. We've been riding Pavlov across America for 5 years. As the miles add up, so does the Pavlov Foundation's impact. We've given out over $600,000 in childhood cancer research grants. We've put on childhood cancer symposiums for the past 4 years. 300 Pavlov Shutterbugs have learned the art of photography. And with your help, all of these numbers will keep rising. But we can't do it alone. 40 riders from across the U.S. will join me for this 500-mile trip. While we're on the road, we're asking for your support. Your donations mean more awareness of childhood cancer and more fuel for our fight. This is what a bike can do. What can you do? You can make a contribution to our fundraising. You can share this video. You can support Pavlov across America at pavlov.org.
Thanks, Jeff. You did a damn good job. And without swearing,
I mean, I told you I wasn't gonna. I asked if I could, and then I thought I shouldn't do that.
Let's see what kind of questions there may be. Do we have somebody carrying microphones around? Great. Cooper, let's start here.
Where's here?
With the person with a hand up? Yeah. It's kind of a giveaway. If somebody has their hand up, that's the person. Thanks, Cooper.
Thank you for your presentation. What do you have any connections with City of Hope in Duarte?
We are friends with them, and interestingly, one of our riders who did the ride this year, whose son is a survivor of pediatric cancer, his wife is a lawyer and went to work for them when their son was in treatment, and decided to take her law practice from the sort of for-profit lawyer world and went into the City of Hope nonprofit world. We don't have any official. Oh yeah, we have one of their researchers is on our scientific advisory committee, which is the group of oncologists and researchers who advise our board of directors on what research grants we're going to give in any given year. But there is no official tie between us and any hospital. We're sort of our own thing, and our ties become either social or through research grants.
Another question? Yeah, please. Thank you.
Great talk, very moving talk. I just have a very brief, quick question from the father of a child that died from brain tumor at the age of 9. How did you survive the grief? And what journey did you go through? I know you never survived the grief. What journey did you go through to mitigate the grief?
It's a very interesting question to answer to you in a group of 150 people. The only thing I can say is that every day I think, wouldn't this be better if Pablo was here? Insert situation. Wouldn't this be better if Pablo was here? I just have to believe that God has a plan that's bigger than me, and that there's a path in front of me, and that my son, who lived 6 years and 6 days, I have to believe that that's the way it was supposed to be. And the cliche that follows people around when they die too young is something like, he did all the work that he had to do in that short period of time, and now he moved on to the next place. These cliches sometimes assuage, and sometimes they make me quite angry, to be honest. And some days I feel like, I'm going to be there soon with him, with my brother who died from cancer too young. And I think if we ask any of the parents in this room whose children have either lost their lives or have gone through treatment, I think we'd all have answers just as you would. I think this is one of the great spiritual questions. Is there an answer to why? Does it even matter why? Is it just okay that it just is? Because there's nothing we can do to change it. I'll tell you that I got in trouble in the basement thing of the church where the Pope hangs out. Somebody help me here. At the Vatican, but what's the name of the church? St. Peter's. I'm not trying to be funny. I just forgot the name of it. And what do they call the area? The catacombs. We were in the catacombs as a family. Right after Pablo passed away, we decided to get the heck out of here and go to Europe for a couple of weeks and just create some new memories. It's a very smart thing to do in a situation like that. And we were down there in the catacombs, and there's a couple of rules. And I managed to break at least 2 of them immediately. And one of them is no photos of any kind. I couldn't resist when we walked by this beautiful hand-carved marble coffin, I guess, burial urn, sarcophagus. Thank you. I told you I wasn't very smart, so thank you for the help. And it's a beautiful white marble carved artifact, and it was out where you could actually touch it if you wanted, even though I think that was also a rule, meaning it wasn't behind glass. So I let our group go ahead, and I snuck back and tried to take a photo of it with my BlackBerry, and I got busted big time. But the thing is that it was for a child. It was for a little boy. And the carvings on it were, a depiction of parents and siblings who were utterly beside themselves with sorrow and grief. And I thought, my God, this has been going on for thousands of years. And I wanted to take a photo of it, not to be a wise guy, but because I wanted to have it. And the fact is, I don't know where the photo is now. This has been going on for a long time. My parents lost their son, my older brother, when he was 39 years old. Different situation. But they lost a child out of sequence. There's that old saying that, parents are supposed to die before their kids. I don't know if that's true or not, or if that's just something we think. The fact is, we don't get through it. We don't get over it. I cry every day, and I wish it was me. And I'm going to say only one thing for my wife, Joanne. I know she feels the same way. We both wish that it was one of us or both of us, and that Pablo would be in this room.
Thank you. Here's a question.
So maybe this is for both of you, but since it just ended yesterday, how do you feel in the moment where did the journey take you, other than physically from San Francisco back to LA? At the moment of stopping, how did you feel?
My right knee really hurt. I think and this is not a very great answer, but I always need more time to let this whole experience settle in. Like I have this overwhelming sense that it was enormously impacting for me in ways that I don't know how to articulate yet, and I think I need time to let that sink in. Overall, I felt very surprised in being able to do that. Like just always the surprise of your body, your mind, your whole being, to be able to get through more than you think you can get through on some level. Like there's so many mountains that we can all climb that we don't believe that we can do that. Whatever obstacle, whatever wall that we hit our nose on and struggle and face, there are resources in this universe and in ourselves that take us so far beyond ourselves. And so that's the kind of question that I'm lingering on right now, I think.
I agree with what John said, and I think that I'm always struck by the individual journey of each rider, starting with myself. There's that saying, I'm not much, but I'm all I ever think about. And when you're on a bike, I'm not much, but I'm all I ever think about. And when you're on a bike, that comes up because you're like dying out there sometimes. And sometimes you get a tailwind. It's hard to imagine because we live on a grid here. But when you're on a rural road, as we were yesterday and the day before, and you come around just a slight curve, and suddenly the wind goes from a headwind to a tailwind, just with a little bit of a turn of the bars, and you're riding with 40 people, and you take on, your oneness becomes part of this whole group thing. It's pretty amazing. And so you vacillate between self-centeredness and group-centeredness. And when I talk about community and connection and spiritual resonance, that's what comes up for me. My body feels great. I trained not at all for this ride this year. I struggled a lot. And I called upon my friend Brian Yates, who was our lead rider, who's the man sitting right here. Put your hand up, Brian. Who actually is how I know John. I talked to John about my struggle. Worked with John's wife, Sarah, on my struggle. And eventually I got my body there. And I knew I could ride into it because I've done this 4 other times. And boy, it was hard. And again, it's like there's all these metaphors. It's like not being around whatever your spiritual practice is. For some people, it's coming to Sunday Mass. For some people, it's meditation every day. For some people, it's jogging. For some people, it's all of those things. But when you come back dry, you're a little bit rusty. You got to kind of figure things out. But the thing is always there for you. Joanne and I were in a meditation class. She for far more years than me. And our teacher, we know Martin from that class. And our teacher would always say, your practice is always here for you. If you go away from it, all you have to do is come back. And when you're meditating, all you have to do is breathe into it. And your life, your experience will expand and you can settle into it. And then it will expand more and you can settle into it. That's what's coming up for me right now. And it's a great feeling. And of course, I want it to last forever. And the only way it lasts forever is if I keep practicing.
Thank you, Jeff and John. Thank you all for your questions.